is that what we are doing today is what we at Courage to Lead do. And if you're new to Courage to Lead, if you're new to Shawn Lovejoy, then you just need to know this is who we are. We coach leaders and we coach teams, and we do that in a one-on-one setting. And so throughout the call today, if you would like to schedule a one-on-one coaching call with one of our coaches, then you can just do that at a link that's going to be dropped in the chat below. And it'll let you know how to do that. It's CourageToLead.com/strategy, and you can schedule that call. Second thing is that we don't really want to overwhelm you too much with content, because in addition to coaching, Courage to Lead produces content. We house that content at CourageToLead.com, but I would also encourage you to follow Shawn on all of his socials. You are on one right now, but you can also follow him on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We'll have those handles in the comments as well so that you can do so. But we also want you to use the comments to do just what it's there for, to comment. We want to hear from you. So throughout the call today, as each individual is speaking in a few minutes, if you have questions, ask those questions. We're going to have some dedicated time to answer your questions. But I would also encourage you to like this coaching call. And if you feel like it's relevant to your followers and your audience, feel free to share it as well on your own platform. We would love to take this message and this helpful content and push it out to as many great leaders as we can. So to get us started, I want to introduce our team for today's call. First, we have Shawn Lovejoy. Shawn is our founder and CEO at Courage to Lead, and he's here to bring his wisdom, his expertise, and really help you get ready for what's around the bend. We also have Danny Anderson. Danny is the senior pastor at Emmanuel Church, which is just south of Indianapolis. And he is under his leadership, he's seen his church grow to around 4,500 plus. I think they've been knocking on the door of 5,000 people across multiple campuses. So Danny is processing re-entry post-COVID-19 in that context. Danny is also one of our incredible coaches at Courage to Lead, so I'm glad he's on the call today. And then we have Forrest Walden. Forrest is the CEO and founder of Iron Tribe Fitness, which is it's based out of Birmingham, but there are franchises across the Southeast and across the country. And he is in an industry, the fitness industry, that frankly was hit hard. It was hit as hard as a lot of churches were, a lot of public gathering spaces were. But one of the things that we have learned and seen Forrest model is he's pivoted well, and he's actually seen growth in this downturn. And so he may even share a little bit about that. But he is also preparing to reopen his facilities and see people come back in droves. My name is Kevin Lloyd. I'm the Director of Content and Communications and a coach at Courage to Lead. And I'm here today to kind of be your guide. But we want to get started. We want to make the most of our minutes. So Shawn, I'm going to turn it over to you to lead us off today and help us and these leaders prepare to re-enter after COVID-19.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for being on the call today and moderating and refereeing and everything else. And Forrest, it really is an honor to have you on the call today, and you as well, Danny, two elite leaders that I happen to know up close. And it's been fun to watch them, their lives and their leadership, but it's been fun to watch them in the middle of this pandemic. And I think that God's just given them a lot of wisdom during this pandemic, and especially as they get ready to re-enter physical space. I think there's a lot you can learn from them. So thanks for all you guys tuning in today on social media. Let us know who you are and where you're from. And if in case you missed it, we're going to answer questions live in just a moment. So you need to go in there, comment, drop your question. What are the implications, the questions you're asking? Maybe you have some good ideas that you'd love to share with everybody. That's okay too, okay? I tell leaders all the time, if you're ever listening to me and you're like, I've heard that thought before, I guarantee it, because I've never had an original thought. I've learned everything I know from someone else, and you should too. We'll talk about that today. So quickly, just in the next 6-7 minutes, I want to run through what I call 7 reflections on reentry, and then I'm going to give away to these guys, and then we'll ask some questions, answer some questions, okay? 7 reflections on reentry I would suggest you ponder on, okay? Number 1, and we'll throw these on the screen for you. Evaluate everything through the lenses of your mission. Evaluate everything through the lenses of your mission, okay? So don't be discouraged. Don't cry over spilled milk right now because you can't get in your physical space. The truth is, I've watched churches, I've watched companies in the marketplace as well. I've watched great people in the fitness industry, like Forrest, actually gain ground and their mission gain an impact and influence without being able to meet in physical space. So don't just evaluate your lenses, your of success through nickels and noses and physical attendance. Okay. The mission of your organization, we've proven it can happen without meeting in physical space. Meeting in physical space just further enhances and accelerates the mission. All right. Number 2, honor your governing authorities. Okay. You can pick a fight if you want to with your mayor, your county commissioners, your governors, if you want to. But I think we ought to love our cities. I love my city. I'm for my city. I'm for our leaders. I think the Bible teaches us to honor our governing authorities. And so you should be talking to them. If you're not close friends with your governing authorities, right now is the time to build that bridge and be serving your community. And I would suggest you stay plugged in and you not go against what your local governing authorities are encouraging you to do. All right. Number 3, I would consider and reflect upon a multi-phase approach of entering your physical space. Take a multi-phase approach. There's initial entry and how things are going to look. And you need to prepare for this internally and communicate externally so everybody knows what to expect as they enter your space. You need to go big on social media, your email list, all of that. What does phase 1 reentry look like? What do I expect as a congregant or a customer reentering your space? What can I expect? And you need to phase it in. Here's what it's going to look like on initial entry. Then there's going to be a transition time period until we maybe eventually get back to some kind of new normal, but it'll probably never look exactly the same way again. And at the same time, number 4 is give yourself room for flexibility. Be very, very careful on dates. Unless God has shown up in physical form and audible voice and given you a date, be cautious with dates. Throw out a date, but say, hey, we're hoping, we're anticipating, we're praying toward. Don't pin me in on this, but this is what we're looking for. And give yourself room for flexibility. Don't promise the way things are going to look 90 days from now, because frankly, no one knows but God alone exactly what it's going to look like 90 days from now. Okay. Number 5, consider every member of the family. Don't just think through the client, the congregant who's an adult. Okay. We're excited about the adults entering our space, but you got to remember schools aren't meeting. You got to think about daycares, whether you're you own a gym or whether you serve a church. You got to think about what people are doing with their small children, their preschoolers, their elementary age kids, their students, how you're going to provide for all of them, the collective family. Make sure you've got the right people in the room thinking through all of that. And then number 6, none of your leaders, none of the people on your leadership teams really know how to do this. So I coach this to pastors all the time, man. If you're going to launch big and go big, but at the same time, have a couple private preview gatherings where your leaders learn how to do a soft open. It's going to be true for all of us. I would have a friends and family weekend or a day or a Saturday. I would have all your leaders in place. I would have them get in place. I would have them serve. I'd have them go through the new normal and train them in the new normal. If not, you're going to have Tom, Dick, and Jane really messing up at the doors what you intended at the center. Okay. So assemble all your leaders ahead of time and participate in some training with them. And then last but not least, don't abandon 7 days a week engagement. Yeah, we're going to get to enter our physical space, but man, we have learned perhaps our influence and impact can be greater if we think broader than just physical engagement in person. I want you to really increase your digital platform, increase your digital experience, and really think more about 7-day-a-week engagement than attendance. And this is true in the ministry, and the marketplace. So I know you guys are going to have some profound thoughts about that today. I think Forrest is next. Is that right, Kevin?
That's
Forrest,
right.
I'd love to hear from you. I've watched you. We talked privately offline. Thanks again for being on the call today. I've watched you guys like pivot. You told me like, this is the most fun I've had in 7 years. I'm just having a fun time recreating and pivoting, and you guys have gained more impact and more influence. But now you're thinking about reentry. Help these guys, both ministry and marketplace leaders, not panic, but be prepared for reentry. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's been all hands on deck trying to figure this out. And I think that's why I feel so reinvigorated as a leader. It's because I love problem solving. I love creating. And I said 7 years because it took me 3 years to build the first 6 locations and then franchise it. And all I was doing was creation. Last 7 years has felt more like maintenance. So I've had fun. And so I'm just going to talk about a couple things we did to kind of get us up to reentry. But I am so blessed to be in an industry where we could pivot and go online. So we've had a lot of success with that, but I could have been in a business that didn't lend itself to that. So first of all, I'm grateful for the industry I'm in. And we closed on March 17th. By March 18th, we were streaming live 3 different programs a day. We quickly moved from Facebook Live to Zoom. And we have just created an awesome virtual community. My clients have been amazing. They've been getting on, they've been posting, they've been sharing, they've just really embraced us. And so as we've seen that grow, we have expanded the reach for that. I mean, right across the hall, I'm building a Zoom room with new cameras and new lighting and new TVs and monitors. And, we're going to take this thing to the next level because I don't see it going away. I really feel like COVID pushed the fitness industry online by about 10 years down the road where it would have been. I mean, people are willing to jump on and do Zoom consults with us. They are willing to train virtually. So one thing we did, not only did we create virtual community for our current clients, we launched a new campaign on Facebook. So my thought process was first week, let's play defense. Let's take care of our customers. Let's launch. Then I shifted to offense. And as of this morning, we've signed up 81 new members for a 100% virtual only membership with us, which, I mean, that's profound for our business model. Can I share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. I just want to share my screen and show you my sales guy's calendar. You see his calendar?
That's awesome.
That's today. He woke up at 7 a.m. He had his first Zoom call, and then all day long until 7 p.m., he's doing virtual consults for people off of our Facebook campaign who want to start an engagement with us over Zoom and some of the stuff we've had created because they're sitting at home, they're overeating, a lot of them are not exercising, they need guidance. So in addition to all that, we took the time because there was going to be nobody in our gyms, and we lended all of our equipment out to our clients. So my gyms are completely empty right now. So I've renovated so far 3 of 5, and the 4th one starts tomorrow. And I told Shawn on the phone, I just feel like now is the time to double down. When everybody is running for the hills and playing out of scarcity, I feel an overwhelming sense of abundance. And I feel like that's just Jesus saying for us, like, trust me and invest and build your community. So that's the major things we've done. But as we think about reentry, which I know this call is really what this call is about, the biggest thing is, I think, communicate clearly. From the very beginning, we have communicated authentically and transparently. We had a positive COVID client come in. It was the first case in Birmingham, and it was in my gym. And I had to personally call 40 different clients and tell them you may have been exposed. I had to shut down the gym. I had to send my staff to get tested. And that was before we shut down. So I've been dealing with this thing for a long time. And I was very honest and transparent with my franchisees, with all my clients. Like, if you think this is not going to happen at every location, you're fooling yourself. We're going to have to close down. So from the very beginning, it's just been very transparent of this is where we are. To Shawn's point, we've said, depending on what KIV says, we think we're going to be able to do this, but we'll let you know after the conference. So it's been very flexible, both with clients and with staff. And I'll give you a quick example. Tomorrow, for the very first time, we've been closed almost 7 weeks. For the very first time, we're going to do some outdoor park workouts. And one of my staff members said, I'm not comfortable going to the park right now. And so we have to take that into account and get someone else to cover that shift and say, okay, well, then you do the virtual workout that day. So there's just been a lot of give and take about some of my guys are so flippant about it, they could care less. And some of them are super concerned about it. And some of that is, who has kids and who, my wife is immunocompromised and she can't get this thing. And so we've been very serious about the quarantine. I think that helps me look through the lens of not everybody, if she's fit, you wouldn't know she's at high risk. And so not everybody who you think might be high risk is. And then also we've completely rethought through our physical space of, okay, when we open, which we think will be May 18th, what is it going to look like? And just a couple quick things we're doing. We're cutting our class capacity in half from 20 clients to 10. We're clearly marking out on the floor 6 by 10, 6 by 6 boxes. So everybody has their own space to work out in, and they know that no one's going to come into that space. We have taken our programming and looking at it from a lens of how can we reduce the amount of shared equipment in a workout, actually eliminate shared equipment during the workout. So everybody will take their own equipment to their own little space, do the workout, sanitize it, or put it back, and then sanitize it. I spent more money than I thought I'd ever spend on cleaning supplies to make sure that we've got everything that we need right now when we reopen, new cleaning stations, things like that. My coaches are going to be wearing masks. So we ordered masks and had them custom embroidered with our mark on them so they at least look good. And then one of the final points on this topic, or maybe it was my next topic, is use surveys. So I've used 2 in particular, and it's so illuminating. You think you know what your customers value, you think you know what they want, but you've got to ask them. So I did a survey that was 100% revolving around our virtual experience. What did you like? What did you not like? What do you wish we knew? And we've gotten great feedback from that. It's helped me with this Zoom room of, consistent music, and the coaches need to be mic'd up, and just all these things. And then more, class times and all that. And then we've done another survey. It's going to actually go out next week, all around reopening. What are you comfortable with? If you're not comfortable coming in, would you go to a park and work out? Do you want to continue virtual? Is it important to you that our coaches wear masks? Like, I want to know, because I don't think my coaches are super fired up about wearing masks, and they're talking from the front of the room and coaching. So that's going to be difficult. If that's not super high on my customers' radar, I may reevaluate the mask thing. I don't know, but I just want to see. And so, again, I think as a leader, you've really got to take the pulse of where your clients are and where your staff is. We're actually going to do a staff survey as well. So those are the biggest things that I'm thinking through, hopefully to open back up May 18th. And the biggest thing I can't wait for, Shawn, I mean, it's like I'm like a kid on Christmas morning. They don't know I've renovated the gyms unless they're on this webinar this morning. I've put brown paper on the windows, like no one knows what's going on. And we completely rebranded. I mean, it's amazing. So when they walk back in on Monday morning, May 18th, they're going to have a brand new, clean, spick and span location. And I think it's going to be an amazing experience.
That's great, man. A couple brilliant things you said. One, I had not thought about surveying people. I know there are a lot of leaders on this call, sitting around wondering, what do people value? What are their fears? What are they worried about giving up? When we go to meet in physical space, like ask them, ask your people, and then secondly, I think this is a great opportunity to kind of relaunch, kind of upgrade everything we do and come out of this thing with more impact and more influence. And you're modeling, that well. But another great leader on the call today, and then we'll all open it up for questions, is my friend and coach at Courage to Lead, Danny Anderson. I know you have a unique perspective, thinking through a multi-campus mega church and all of the concerns and apprehension there's related to that, and the anticipation of being able to worship together again. Help these leaders on Facebook today get their eyes and hearts and minds around this.
Thanks, Shawn. Thanks for the opportunity to be part of the conversation. And I feel like after listening to Forrest, I want to go work out. Where's I don't know if
He'll
anybody
do
else
that to you. He has that effect on
Let's
you.
go.
It's great. So I appreciate those encouraging words there. But yeah, so we've been talking as a staff and a leadership team about this very concept of reentry, and we had our staff meeting this morning. We all met over a Zoom call. And I just want to offer a few quick thoughts that I think all pastors should be thinking through, and some of them kind of reflect what you shared earlier, Shawn. The 7 steps; those were incredibly helpful. The first thing that we really, I guess, it's a sort of a lens that we were thinking through, like to answer the question, when should we return? Obviously, you look at your governor's guidelines, and so we did that. Our governor came out on Friday and gave us the new restrictions and the phased approach to get to basically the city back to normal. And so we took those into consideration, but we really asked ourselves this question: what is our current situation as a church? We're a larger church. We didn't know at first what was going to happen, if offering was going to go down or if people would tune in online. There were so many unknown, unknown information out there. So over the last 6 weeks, we've really tried to just kind of pay attention to the details. How many people are tuning in? How many people are putting their faith in Christ? How many people are joining a small group? Like, what's really happening? What are the numbers reflecting? And that's really just knowing your situation. Thankfully, we were kind of set up to succeed. We had an online campus. Most of our giving was online through PushPay. So we haven't really gone backwards. If anything, we've sort of surged forward during this time, which is an incredible thing. But that's not the situation for every church. There are a lot of churches out there that are smaller. They weren't ready to go online, as much. They weren't as prepared. Their giving has struggled. And so if I was in that situation, I would be much more eager to get back into our physical meetings because of, connectivity and offerings, and just the whole thing starts to work because of the physical gatherings. But we're not in that situation. And so we have the luxury of pushing things off a little bit more. And even practicing even more caution than what our governor has said. Our governor has said we can actually start meeting as a church on the 8th. And because we're in a pretty good situation, we don't have to rush that. We've pushed it off at least to the 24th of May. And so that's one thing we're thinking through. What is our current situation? The other thing we're thinking through is similar to what you said about the vision and filtering all these decisions through the vision and the values of our church. And our church is very evangelistic. Our phrase is, we exist to see people come to Christ and grow in Christ. We call it a relentless pursuit of those who are far from God. And so we were thinking through the lens of, if we decide to have services this weekend, what does that communicate to the target audience that we're trying to reach? Unchurched people, de-churched people. How will they perceive that decision? Will they see it as selfish? Will they see it as, inward focus? Or in fact, we tried to play this out. Last night, we had a meeting at my house with our leadership team. We said, if you invited somebody who didn't go to church for this weekend, because the governor said we could, quote, meet, would they be excited to come? Or would they hear that and think, man, I don't think so. I'm not comfortable with that. I still think this disease is very contagious, and I don't want to get sick, and I don't want to put someone else's life in jeopardy. And we feel like there's enough of that still going on in our community to basically press pause and wait. And so it's a values-based decision. It's a vision-based decision. Andy Stanley said something very similar. For those of you paying attention to North Point, they decided to put things off because they want to do ministry according to their values. They want to reach families, and they want to do it in an excellent way, and so have a holistic approach. And so they've decided to push things off as well. Now, not every church is in a situation where they can do that. But it is something to consider when you're trying to make this decision about when to reconvene. There's a church here in Indy, I won't say their name, but they decided last week to start gathering. And before the governor laid out his guidelines, and man, they got some tremendously negative feedback. People in the community were saying that they don't care, they're unloving, all they care about is money. And this is, I mean, like hundreds of comments on their Facebook post that they're going to reconvene. And so I saw that and I was like, we're just not ready. Our community is not ready to do services the way that we do them. So know your situation, know your values. And then this third one, we thought that this was so critical, and it goes to what you said, Shawn, about flexibility, is give a short-term plan and then relax. And here's what I mean by that. A short-term plan simply means, hey, for the next couple of weeks, this is what we're going to do. It might even be for the next week, this is what we're going to do. Because what that does, there's two benefits to having a short-term plan. First of all, it actually allows you to have that flexibility. You can stay nimble, you can pivot quickly, and it also allows you to reduce the amount of disappointment. Which is so critical as a leader. Every leader wants to please. You want to please people. You want them to like your decisions. But in this one, you're not going to win. They're going to have a percentage of people that are going to be like, man, I don't agree with that. We should be meeting, or we shouldn't be meeting. It's what Forrest said. You know, he's got different staff members who are on both sides of this. I'm comfortable with this. I'm not comfortable with this. In this is a no-winner for leaders in this situation. So the best way to reduce the amount of disappointment is to give a shorter plan, because then people can't say, but you said we were going to get back on July 4th and now we're not. And I can't believe, you said that. It's like, no, because guys, here's what we're doing for the next 2 weeks. We'll reevaluate this and we'll give you, we'll communicate that to you. So you give a short-term plan. We did that. We're going to make a video today or tomorrow and send it out to our church. But then I also wanted to put on there the relax piece. And I learned this from Craig Rochelle a couple weeks ago. He did a podcast called Leading Through Crisis. Fantastic podcast. And he said at the end of the podcast, you know what? I'll quote him. He said, expect to get it wrong. He said, I'm second guessing myself every day. And, to hear a leader like that say those words, it meant everything to me, because there's so much pressure to get this right. And, oh my gosh, we got to, people are, going to be looking to us. And here's the thing. There's no playbook here. Each church is going to do this a little bit differently, because they're in a different situation, they're different size. And so I'm just kind of giving myself a little bit of grace, like, hey, we're doing the best that we can, and we're probably going to disappoint you. I'm sorry, but we're just going to do the best we can with the information we have. We're praying, we're asking the Lord for wisdom, and we're going to trust him, and we're going to do the best. And then, and then relax. So that's kind of what we've been thinking, and how we've come to the decisions that we've come to for re-entering with services, and then also for our staff coming back to work. So
gold, man. It's gold.
Fantastic. Such good content. I really think you guys, all three of you, gave such good content. We could probably just close up shop and go home after this. But the good news is this is a coaching call, so we are making space for some questions. So for those of you who are watching, this is a great opportunity just to start dropping some of your questions in the comment section. We'll do our best to get to them. Guys, a few that have come in already that I think are good, and I'm going to try to bundle some of these because they're revolving around some of the themes that you guys are talking, specifically plans and communication. So when you guys are forming plans, we've had several people ask, like, is there a plan we can copy? Walk everyone through, our viewers through, for you, how you came to your plan. Did you talk to a few wise people and then kind of develop your own? How did you formulate the plan that you have landed on to re-enter? Forrest, let's start with you.
I did two specific things. Number one, I deemed my controller the point person for this entire thing. And I said, all these gazillion webinars I'm being sent and teleconference calls, and the ones I think are good, I'm going to send to you, and I want you to sit on them and send me the bullet points. She's the perfect person to do that, and she's done an amazing job. So I was able to look at kind of what other people are doing and then model it to us. And then in addition to that, I am in so many different coaching groups in the fitness space, mainly Facebook pages, some paid, some free. And I blocked out a few hours over the weekend when I just kind of had some downtime, went through and said, what are other people doing? What are other fitness owners, what are they asking about? What are they paying? And so it was amazing the resources I got. Some was useful, some was not. But when I put those two things together, it gave me a great framework that I could just personalize for our brand, and I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. So those are my two primary ways.
That's good. Danny, how about yourself?
Yeah, so we leaned heavily into our governor's guidelines. Thankfully, he put a very detailed plan, a 4-phase plan for our whole community. So we leaned into those and built our phased approach upon that. But also, I've been collaborating with about 12 other local pastors here in Indy, just talking to them about, hey, what are you guys doing? And we've just been chatting, and I've been borrowing some of their ideas to put together our plan, and then just meeting with my team. I mean, that's what we did last night. We got in my house, we just spelled it out. When are we going to do this? What date are we going to pull the trigger on this? And just get it on a piece of paper and then communicate it to your team.
Really good.
Yeah, I would just piggyback off of that. Danny is so wise. You know, the order is important. I say all the time, the biggest mistake I see leaders make is isolation. That may be more rabid than ever before. You know, don't start in your living room making this up. Start on the external, you know, learning from other people. It's the great value of coaching. We're working with a lot of leaders right now in how to do this well. And kind of the luxury we have is to look across. We're talking with dozens and dozens and dozens of organizations. Why would you want to relive someone else's pain? You can skip over someone else's pain if you're learning from them, like the church Danny cited, who took a misstep, a simple, you know, misstep, and got hammered for it. Well, there are probably a dozen churches the same weekend made the same mistake because they really weren't paying attention, you know. So be plugged into what's going on and be a learner right now.
Really good. And if you need to process that, that's one of the reasons we offer a free coaching call is we'll drop that link again in the chat window. You can schedule a free call with one of our coaches, and we'll just kind of help you walk through that and walk through what's around the bend for you as well. So the other side of what you guys really talked about was not only the planning, but the communication. And so I know right now it's just sort of throwing a lot of things against the wall and seeing what sticks, even in terms of communication. But is there anything that the two of you guys have done in your context that has really landed well with your followers, your audience, your congregation, that's really helped them feel, I would say, a sense of clarity and calm? Any one avenue that's really worked well for you? Danny, we'll start with you on this one.
You know, as far as updating people, I've been making short videos and sending them out. And that's been the most effective way to get my voice to them. Like, hey, it's going to be okay. We also launched a midweek devotional on Wednesday evenings. Is about 15 minutes, just, you know, as just me sharing some scripture with people, just to give them another dose. You know, Shawn always talks about, you know, you cannot over communicate during this time. Well, we did that. We started, my campus pastors are making videos where our teams are making videos, constantly getting in front of our people. So that's, people consume content for video these days. So
it's good. Really good. Forrest, same question.
Yeah, I think it's just been the transparent way that I've communicated. The biggest thing that comes to mind is there was this huge issue of, do we reduce our rates? Are we providing something that's less valuable now because they can't physically come through our doors? And I had some clients emailing me personally saying, don't you dare reduce your rates. Don't you dare give us free weeks. We want Iron Tribe to be around when we come back. We don't want you to lay off these coaches. We're happy to pay. And then I had other clients saying, what are you going to do about the rate? I don't get on Facebook. I don't get on Zoom. That's not important to me. That's not why I signed up for Iron Tribe. So I wrote an email, and then I collaborated with all the leaders on my team, and then I even shared it with a few of my franchisees. And we came up with kind of going back to surveys again, we said, hey, here's what we'd like to offer, but if you want to waive concessions, go here and click this box. And so we had 40% of our members waive the concessions that we offered, and then 60% take us up on some of those concessions. So again, I got a lot of feedback of like, thank you for allowing us to kind of choose how we continue to do business with you guys. And I felt like that was a really successful, what could have been a sticky situation.
Really good. So good. Shawn, what about it from you? Let's talk about communication on our end. What have you seen really work, stick, make an impact in people's perspective?
Yeah, the latest research showed that about 60% of leaders feel overwhelmed at the amount of information they're being sent. Like Forrest told you, like you're getting 7 emails a day about this webinar and that webinar and this training. And I praise God for that, but it's like too much for the average person to take in. And so I've seen several organizations, ministries do this well. I'm a big fan of infographics. You know, there's a reason why Instagram has become so wildly popular, because it's not text based, you know, primarily it's graphics based, and people are visual learners. So I would just say, when you come up with your plan, man, put some infographics together, put it out there. Somebody ought to be able to glance at their social media feed in 3 seconds, which is about what you've got, by the way, to get their attention, and put all of the, you know, minutia down under it. But you got to get their attention. You got to get it in front of them. It's like Danny said, when you think you've said it and stated it and posted it too much, I promise you there's still going to be people show up at your physical space and they've missed all of it. Mm-hmm. And then their expectations are out of whack. And they can literally, your first impression back with them can be a negative one if you're not helping set those expectations. So I think you get an excuse to be obnoxious when you're those 7 days before you're getting ready to open your physical space, to over communicate with people and do everything you can so that that first impression is a good one.
Good. Lots of questions are coming in about things that looking ahead have to do with maybe hiring staff or where to put different resources in terms of financial allocation. So I want to back up and ask a question that's a little different than what we've covered so far, but I think it touches on a lot of these other questions. But it has to do with budget, operations, forecasting in terms of financially. What are both of you guys doing right now as you're looking ahead and you have team members that you need to bring on board? You have initiatives that you have had out front leading into this. So how are you forecasting leading ahead? There are a lot of companies who are struggling with this. They're struggling with what to be thinking about right now in terms of their financial outlay. So talk about what you guys are thinking about and having meetings about in terms of operational and budgetary forecasts moving forward in the immediate. Danny, let's start with you.
So our conversations about, you know, future spending and future budget, it really is a wait and see for us. We want to wait and see what's the real fallout to this. You know, I think my opinion is that there'll be a lag, you know, consequence to churches. I could be wrong, you know, but as people continue to lose their jobs, more and more people every day are applying for unemployment. Eventually that's going to affect people's giving. So we are being very cautious, even though our giving is maintained and it's been strong, because we've been telling our people we're making investments in our community, overseas, locally. We're purchasing masks for hospitals. We're doing things like that. So people have been consistent, but if they continue to lose their jobs and we can't get the economy back on track, you know, we may have to, you know, really be conservative. So we're in a wait and see pattern right now on all future hires or projects that we're doing. Unless it's designated spending and we have the money already, the cash on hand, we have a couple of projects we're pushing forward on, but that money is accounted for.
It's good. Good thoughts. Forrest, how about yourself?
So the same way I answered the question initially is I really thought in terms of defense and then offense. And so defense, I did what probably every leader on this call has done, and I went through my P&L and said, what can I cut? Yeah. And things that I cut were things that I wanted to have no impact on staff or clients. And I got to be honest, there was not some huge list of things. I thought I was going to come up with a lot more. There wasn't a huge list of things. I was like, okay, we run pretty lean. That's good to know. Most of it, we're service business. Most of my overhead's in payroll. I'm not going to cut payroll. I'll say of 35 full-time employees, I've only laid one off, and that was a sales guy. I have not laid off any of my coaches. It's very important to me. So that 1 week of defense, we were figuring all this out, and then I shifted to offense. And what I see now is everything's on sale. I mean, Facebook is on sale. Because people aren't advertising. I could share my screen and show you my current campaigns, but I'm generating leads from $3 to $10 a lead. And pre-COVID, that was $20 to $50 a lead. So I think a great spend right now is to be marketing. And when I can get people to utilize a virtual service, which is a higher margin service for me, to me, yeah, my plan doesn't look the same, but I'm really focused on what's my return on ad spend, what's my ROI and the money that I'm spending. Oh, and by the way, I've got competitors going out of business, and I'm putting my name out there for when we do open back up. It's going to be really good, both virtual and in person, which is why I'm also investing in my physical spaces.
Fantastic. Love that perspective, and love that you guys have been on with us today. You've added so much value. Shawn, I want to give you just an opportunity to really share some parting words in just a moment. But before we get to that, I do want to remind everyone, and for some of you, you're new to not only this call, but you may be new to Courage to Lead, and you're kind of curious about who we are and what we do. And as I said early on, I want to say again, we coach leaders just like we've done today. We help provide perspective and permission, and hopefully a place where you can just process the reality of what's going on in your world. And so if you would like to talk with one of our coaches, then we can set that up. You can go to the link that's going to be in the comment, CourageToLead.com/strategy, and we can talk about your current situation, but we can also project forward and help you lead in a healthy, scalable way. And we've even taken what we do. We've heard a lot of conversation about pivoting and being agile and being able to take your plans and create new plans that may only go for a season. And so we've even created some coaching intensives that just help you grow and be healthy and make sure you're stable during a season just like this. So we would love to have that conversation with you and talk a little bit more and a little bit further. But Shawn, I want to hand the ball to you. Any parting words of wisdom as we prepare to go?
Well, first, just thank you, Forrest and Danny. It's been a joy to just watch you guys thrive. Right now, it's why I do what I do. I love watching leaders just, find a new gear and a new normal and pivot and take new ground and grow and impact and influence. And thank you for sharing that with leaders today. And I would just say one practical and one heart. One practical truth I would just share with you today is that whether you're a ministry leader or a marketplace leader, frankly, digital engagement was secondary to in-person engagement. And I just think those have flipped in front of us, and if you hire anybody, if you're thinking about allocation of resources and staff, you need some people who wake up thinking about the digital engagement piece. Okay. The first church visit from now on is not going to be in a physical space. Perhaps the first gym visit, going forward, and many others like it, is going to be some kind of digital engagement and test of the relationship before they're willing to apprehensively walk in the door. I think it's going to be more true than ever before because of physical fears, but also physiological and psychological, fears, as well as spiritual. So I think that's really, really important for you guys in the future. You need to, who and how are we going to stay focused on digital engagement 7 days a week and use that not as an alternate to physical meeting, but a step toward engagement with us in our physical space. And then last but not least, I just say to you guys, I agree with what Forrest and Danny said once again. Give yourself grace. My God, if you put more on yourself than God expects of you, you're going to wear yourself out. And you're going to need to give yourself grace. You're going to need to give leaders grace. And you're going to frankly have to be willing to accept a few missteps and failures, to be successful. The ones I see losing impact and influence right now are making fear-based decisions. The ones who are taking more ground right now are moving forward in the face of fear, realizing they're going to make mistakes, but they're going to fail their way forward. And fast-growing organizations make more mistakes than non-growing organizations. They just correct them more rapidly. So don't paralyze yourself by being afraid to make a mistake. Go for it and chill and relax, and you'll recover from it along the way and keep learning. And we're with you all the way. We're with you all the way. So just thanks for being with us today.
Great. Thank you guys once again. In the great words of one of those on our call, make a great plan, be able to change it, and relax. Thank you guys so much for being on the call. Danny, Forrest, you've added tons of value.